Hi guys, welcome back to the show. We're so glad to have you back with us this week. We know we missed a week last week, but we are ready to go and excited to share our guest this week with you. She is fantastic. She had some amazing resources to share with us that are great for the entire community, not just the disabilities community.
And yeah, she was super positive, super awesome. What like a true little Cali girl, she was terrific. I had a blast. So again, make sure that you do listen to our episode. All of our resources will be at the end of the episode. So of course, if you like these episodes and any other one, please share with a friend and leave a review. Ladies and gentlemen, in this corner, Eddie Gagnon. And in the opposite corner, Kristen Gagnon. This is What's Special About Special.
I wanted to say that.
Well, hello there. My name's Eddie Gagnon.
Eddie, I don't want to be here all night.
Welcome and thank you for joining us. My name's Eddie Gagnon. That was perfect. Kristen.
Your voice. Hey, Eddie, temperatures are dropping, and that means fall is here.
And fall means football and cheese plates and apps and couch potatoes.
And we spend all weekend watching football and just relaxing. So I definitely do not want to go grocery shopping.
Did you know what would make that easier?
What?
Instacart delivers groceries in as fast as 1 hour. They connect you with a personal shopper in your local area to shop and deliver groceries from your favorite stores.
Instacart is offering our listeners free delivery on your first order over $35. So listeners, by following the link in our show notes, and we really hope that you do, you'll be letting Instacart know that we sent you and you'll be supporting our show.
All right. And today we'd like to welcome our guest, Kelly Twichel. Kelly is the co-founder and CEO of Access Trax, a lightweight portable pathway to access terrain. Welcome, Kelly. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
So, Kelly, tell us, let's start off right off the bat. Tell us a little bit about your personal story. Where are you from? Kind of tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in San Diego, California, and surprisingly, I didn't even move away for college. It's just a really cool place to live, and my family was here. One of those things that if I could go back and change anything, I might have explored a little more while I was in college. But anyways, just love it here. And with being in Southern California, you have access to a lot of outdoor activities, whether it's going to the beach, then driving maybe an hour or two, going to the mountains, going camping, and even going to the snow during winter. So really just a lot at our fingertips here.
See, Eddie? I've been telling Eddie.
No, did y'all coordinate this? No. Because she's really trying to coax me to move to California. And it's not a location. It's a people thing. I just don't. I'm not going to say I don't like people, but I don't like people in
California
like large groups.
is really big.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't like crowds.
No. But people come to San Diego, I feel like that's where they go to. That's where they land. And so I feel like you just got lucky. You happen to already be there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that I come across that are born and raised in San Diego. A lot of people have moved around. So that's kind of a fun talking point. They're like, what? You grew up here?
Yeah.
And you're human? Like, are you sure you're good?
Well, it's like because you do hear San Diego is like an awesome place. So it's like, that is really cool. And I'm just like reflecting back. I'm like, I was born and raised where we're right now. And I'm like, it's... ill. No, it's not. Like, that's the thing. At least you're San Diego, so that's like up at the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you want to go there.
Like,
no one wants to come here.
I can't even see the top from where we are. I've been here my whole life.
So we need to go to California.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tell us. So you went to California. So I'm assuming you went to college in San Diego as well.
Yeah, just outside of San Diego. Well, yes, I went to undergrad at San Diego State University. Yes, I studied biology and was actually going to go to med school. I had an emphasis in pre-med, but right before graduating, when I was supposed to apply to med schools, I felt like something was telling me that's not my career path. I had found that I really wanted to be working a lot more with a person through whatever rehabilitation or healthcare journey they were going through. And as a medical doctor, a lot of times you're forced to see so many patients in one day and you get barely 10 minutes with them.
Yeah.
And so it didn't feel right to me. So I didn't apply to med school. And I graduated and decided I was going to interview people and what career are you in? Do you like it? What don't you like? And just really kind of find that niche for me. And after San Diego State, I circled back to a career called occupational therapy, which you guys might be very aware of.
Yeah.
Yeah, through your journeys. Yeah. So what first exposed me to OT when I was younger was that my mom, 2 weeks before I started high school, had suffered a massive stroke. So immediately we were thrown in as a family into what is rehabilitation and what can it do for my mom to help her regain as much of her independence back.
Right.
Because she was paralyzed completely on the left side and she was right-handed. So that part helped a little bit.
Right.
But, depending on the area of your brain that's affected in a stroke, it affects different parts of your personality, your critical thinking, movement, all of that.
Right.
So she went through a lot of rehabilitation and OT was one of the ones that she had. So that was kind of how I was first exposed when I was in high school. And then after graduating from SDSU, I ran into somebody who I worked at a golf course and one of the golfers' wives was an OT. And so I went and shadowed her and I loved it. I mean, you get to spend so much time with your client and you get to work on their goals with them.
Yeah.
You get to see their progress, sometimes over 6 months to years at a time, depending on whether you're in OT in school-based or pediatric versus, maybe they're rehabilitating after, a short-term illness or injury. So anyway, that's how I fell in love with OT again.
Awesome. So that's kind of how you're connected to the disabilities community. You work as an OT now currently?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I ended up applying to OT school in Southern California, just outside of San Diego. It's San Marcos. So I was able to live at home for a semester, save a little bit of money. And then I ended up moving a little bit closer towards campus because that was like an hour plus drive with traffic. So it was kind of draining me. Oh, yeah. The traffic.
I know.
That's
Dude, I hate
Eddie's keyword there. Yeah.
Trigger.
That's a trigger for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I have terrible road rage too, so it doesn't help.
Now, as an OT, do you work with adults, pediatrics, both? What's your specialty?
When I graduated, I got hired right away in kind of a school-based and clinic-based system. So one employer, and I was contracted out with 2 clinics and like 6 schools.
Oh, wow.
Let's just say that I had to be a pro at organization and executive functioning skills because there is just no way you can handle that, especially as a new grad. But I made it work, and I just really do enjoy working with all kinds of populations. But that happened to be pediatrics was the field I went into right after graduating.
No, I'm sure at the same time, though, it throws you into a good amount of experience right off the bat to kind of really give you everything that you need to see right away.
Yeah. And when I was in school, of course, we do field work, which is, 6 months worth of basically free labor. You're learning, obviously you have to have that, especially in the medical field,
Right.
You can't just go out there and they hand you your stethoscope. All right. Are you ready to actually work with humans? So I worked in field work, acute care in the hospital setting. I worked in long-term nursing care. I worked in peds. So I got a wide variety, which is great.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So tell us how Access Trax came about.
I love telling this story because I think it helps inspire people to know that it doesn't matter what part of your journey you're in or whether you took a sharp right turn and just completely switched without your planning involved, that you can really find a passion and chase it. So I was a student at an OT school in 2015, and it was 2016, so a year into my program, where we took a class called Assistive Technologies. And what that could mean is really just any sort of device or service, whether it's off the shelf or modified after the fact, that helps somebody complete a task. So assistive technology can be a mobility device like a wheelchair. It could be a screen reader, for your computer. It could be really anything, right? And the class project was, hey, just create something to help a population with a disability be more independent. And my classmate and I, who worked on a lot of group projects together, because, sometimes you find that person who, they actually hold their end of the bargain on projects. So we tackled the issue of adaptive surfers needing to cross the sand with dignity and independence in their own mobility device.
Wow.
Right. So not creating another beach wheelchair, but somehow creating potentially a pathway system that would help them, that they could easily deploy. So in a long story short, basically we started a school project that ended up working as a, minimum viable product, like showing proof of concept with handmade materials. And we tested it with actual adaptive surfers getting their feedback. That is what motivated us, the actual getting the feedback from the people that would use it. That is what motivated us to not just stop at a school project. This is something that could potentially help millions of people around the world have better access to not only sand, but outdoor terrain like gravel, dirt, mud, grass, even snow. So school project turned into a business essentially.
Now, how, as like an OT, you're as a student, where does that concept come from? Obviously it's coming from a need, but where are you seeing that need? Were you guys out somewhere and seeing something and being like, okay, this is a need, we're seeing people struggle? Or was it literally just a concept, like came out of thin air? And you guys are just that creative.
So our professor in that class, she was a surfer, and she had a special request in that class say, hey, can one group try to tackle helping adaptive surfers get better mobility? Yep. So she kind of kicked it off, and my classmate and I went to Home Depot 4 times in one day, getting different materials to say, what can we put together to lift the tires off of sinking into the sand?
Yeah.
So essentially, I was looking at rain gutter covers, so aluminum rain gutter covers, which are 6 inches wide and 3 feet long. And I got 2 of them and zip tied them exactly like 25 inches apart onto plastic chicken mesh so that they would be the perfect width apart so that a wheelchair wheels, the caster wheels and the main wheels would be lifted off the sand because they're on that aluminum rain gutter covers as a track.
Great idea. That's so creative. I feel like this is something. Can't believe you didn't think of it, Eddie. Like Mr. MacGyver over
I have
here.
other ones. I got other ones. I'm just waiting for the patent office to get back to me.
Oh, you're funny.
Oh, you'll never hear back.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I think that's such a great, she gave you a great opportunity, but also to fill a need like that was out there. It was clear it was out there. This wasn't just like, let's come up with this idea and maybe it'll be a need. Like it was a need. So fulfilling it is just like even more exciting because you're able to right then and there see it being used. Like how could you not move forward with a product like that?
Right. We tested it at a surfing competition down in California in Ocean Beach, and there were 5 adaptive surfers competing in a heat. And we had 2 separate 10-foot sections of this handmade track. and we had to go over 100 feet down the beach.
Oh.
So like it was probably way more than that. And so we were kind of leapfrogging it, where two people would move forward, propel themselves forward in their own mobility device. And then we would drag and drop the two sections that we had, and they got all the way down there. Didn't matter that we were the ones sweating after the end of it. They were just excited that, hey, this is the first time ever that I've gone over sand at the beach in my own wheelchair without having somebody carry me like a child, without dragging my body myself across the sand, and just doing it in style. I mean, It was so cool.
I mean, that is cool. I mean, that's the thing is, like, we've talked time and time again, we've talked to like other people as well with resources, and the key word always is independence. There's nothing worse than that. I'm sure, I wouldn't know, but I'm sure that feeling of losing your independence when it's not necessary. I mean, to be in a surfing competition, you have, I'm sure there's this level of independence that's well beyond what other people have in that position. So why have to take a step backwards just to get to the beach or to the water? That's just crazy. Like it shouldn't happen for anybody. And an opportunity to have a resource like this gives an opportunity for someone who maybe isn't an adaptive surfer to say, hey, I could surf.
Yep.
Or I could do this, for a kid to say, oh, I never thought about surfing before, but now that it's so accessible, why wouldn't I try this? That's the goal, right? Is to make everything accessible to everyone so that everyone has that same level of independence. There's just no reason why.
Absolutely. I think over the past few years and seeing this product, a pathway laid out at different events, you find that there's people who aren't even a part of the event who are suddenly interested. And what is this? What's going on here? And there's a clear pathway that's accessible. And so you get moms with baby strollers coming down because all of a sudden that's accessible and not a struggle. You get, elderly people, families with their grandparents who normally they don't try to go on the sand anymore because it's a fall hazard.
Yeah.
And just anybody in general, like, oh, cool, there's a pathway. That means I should be allowed to go this way. So they go and check it out and they learn more. And we get so many people who are, wow, I didn't even know this existed. What's adaptive surfing, or whatever the event may be, right? It's just a way that now there's more access spread the word more. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Which when Kristen had introduced me, she was like, oh, we're going to have this guest. And we went over all the, what you guys were about. It was, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, oh my God, why? It seems now that was created, but it seems like, why wasn't this created before, sooner, faster? Well, it's because you're just like, that's so, it's a great idea. It's amazing, but it seems like it took this long for that to come about, or for somebody to actually, take that time to.
Well, it's the same as like the opposite. We think about it as the opposite effect. Like how many times now that Eddie has a wheelchair for part-time, long distance, we say part-time, but how many times do we go somewhere and we're like, well, yeah, this door might have a quote unquote handicap accessible button, but nothing about this door is handicap accessible, the way the doors open or like, but these are not things that before we ever would have noticed. We would have thought, this is an accessible area. That's so nice of them to think of that. So nice of them to think of that. But now we're like, none of this, we've gone places where we're like, this isn't even accessible. Just because they put a automatic door doesn't make it an accessible entrance, or there's a stair right before a ramp. Like what? Like there's just, it's not well thought out. And I think that is just an result of, the ignorance of just, we aren't being vocal enough. Like there's just not enough out there and no one's speaking up. So it's just being like, oh, well, this makes sense to me, so it must make sense, versus someone saying this doesn't work, so let's think of a better way.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's awesome.
But yeah, it was incredible to see that. I was just like, geez, because I'm almost positive we've seen, we've been to a couple beaches where they had a similar, right?
Listen, we've been to one beach in 3 years. The last time we went to a beach. We've been so bad at going to the beach lately. Our life has been, but the last beach, we were saying at the last beach, because we knew this was coming, that we wish this was there.
Yeah.
because
it's all blur. Coronavirus is killed.
It was a very, very, very far walk and very difficult. And for that reason, we didn't bring the wheelchair because we knew it wouldn't have been unnecessary. There was no point. But even not having the wheelchair, like for Eddie, it's tiring for him to walk in sand, period. It's a lot of extra work physically. And so just that alone, maybe he doesn't need the wheelchair, but just to get from A to B is difficult, or, rougher terrain is difficult for him. And so, something like this is just a great opportunity.
I concur.
So tell us how specifically Access Trax works.
Happy to share that. So Access Trax is a portable modular pathway, meaning that in the smallest unit, it's a 3 foot by 3 foot by 1/8 of an inch thick square. So there are square mats that you can connect to each other in any configuration because there are hinge slits on all 4 sides.
Oh.
So think of connecting, let's say you need a straight path down the beach, for example. You can connect these mats in a straight line with these hinges, which is just Velcro. So it's really, really easy to understand how to use. They're lightweight, flexible, sand doesn't bother them. And the Velcro is very still durable, which surprises most people.
Right.
But they can handle a lot. So you connect them in a straight line. It goes all the way down the beach. Say you have your pathway. And then let's say when you get to where your hangout spot is going to be on the beach, you can unhinge and rearrange these mats to make a platform, like a square platform. So you can kind of have that space to move around under your pop-up tent or whatever. And then let's say you want to go back to where you came from, and let's pretend you only have 10 mats in total. You can connect 2 5 mat sections and do a leapfrog where you have one connected straight line of 5 mats and then a separate one, line them up. You say you got a mobility device or whatever, and you go to the end of your pathway. Then you have at least, one helper with you taking the mats that were behind you and putting them in front. So you can kind of keep going no matter how far of a distance you need to move. You have the flexibility to create that firm and stable sidewalk-like surface wherever you go.
Wow. And what material are they made out of?
They're made up of high density polyethylene plastic, which is used in a ton of everyday materials. So it's a very durable, long lasting material that also has stabilizers in it for the sun. So it's not going to break down in the sunlight, because obviously this is something you're going to use outdoors a lot.
Yeah.
And it's resistant to things like it doesn't get damaged if it gets wet or sandy or dirty.
Awesome. Now, what is people typically purchasing?
When I get a new customer inquiring, I usually ask them, where do you plan on using it? What kinds of areas are you going to? What capability do you have for transporting and storing it? Those types of things. And essentially, if you are a family and you're taking it on vacation or places outdoors, but don't need to set it down permanently, like in your driveway, if you don't need to set it down permanently, you have the flexibility of maybe ordering 10 of these mats. A lot of families do that. And doing what I said before, where you can leapfrog the pathway no matter how far you need to go. And 10 mats is really manageable to carry, to transport, and to store.
Awesome. And
you said they're 1/8 of an inch thick?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a very, very thin profile. That's insane. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you have these 10 mats and they actually, when they're connected with the Velcro, let's just say they're all in a straight line, all 10, they accordion fold. So that makes setup really, really quick, because you can leave these connected for even when you're transporting and storing them. You can leave them connected in their configuration.
Nice.
So you have these 10 mats, they're accordion folded, which means that they stack flat. So 10 mats stacks less than 2 inches thick, and all 10 of them together only weighs 52 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And I have a carrying strap system that you can hook up to these mats when they're stacked like that.
Nice.
So I can carry, I typically personally like to carry between 6 and 8 panels at a time. And you can do that with that one carrying strap. And then I have my hands free to carry whatever else I'm carrying when I'm going somewhere.
Nice. I didn't even think about that, how small it was until you explained it that way.
Because that just makes it easier for portability, but also the storage and stuff. It can be right there. You can slide it. It's right here. Just slide it right out. Boom. We're all set to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the cabin. Let's say it was at the cabin. It's an easy place to store, but you could still lay it out really easily to get to and from the cabin entrance or something like that. If it was a place
you can just slide it right under. And then we just literally accordion it right out and accordion it right back.
Yeah, that's nice.
Right. So families will put it in the trunk of their car, and you can stack a bunch of other equipment on top of it, right? It's durable. They stack flat. So you can have your wheelchair, you can have your other sports equipment, whatever on top of it. And you can check it as luggage on an airplane. It's your assistive technology, right? So typically you check that for free because if you have a disability, they're not going to question you on that. And you take it with you. People fly all over the world on vacation with that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Good idea.
What type of customers are purchasing Access Trax that you're seeing for what type of uses other than the beach?
Right. We are really happy to serve families with typically physical disabilities who want to use it for any outdoor activity. So a lot of them are maybe adaptive athletes and they take it to whatever sport they're going to, especially water sports, because typically at the edge of the water, there's either sand, dirt, or small rocks. So people who do kayaking, paddleboarding, things like that. We also work with a lot of adaptive sports organizations and nonprofits. They purchase it and use it for their sports programs because now they're much more accessible and inclusive. And it's a lot less of a liability to have a person in the comfort of their own personal mobility device cross whatever gap that there is at their event outdoors and then transfer safely into the kayak or whatever it may be versus volunteers having to carry somebody. So it's a lot safer, a lot more enjoyable for most people.
Yeah.
And then, so a lot of people too, going back to families, they'll take it camping. I think you kind of mentioned going to a cabin or vacation. So for vacation travel, camping, outdoor adventuring, as well as the beach and the park, for example.
Oh, it's awesome. Have you seen any really creative ways someone's used it that you wouldn't have thought about?
Yes. So this one, there's a nonprofit in Southern California. They do adaptive surfing and they actually were really creative and made a wheelchair skate park using the mats. At one point I looked at the photo. I was like, maybe not the safest idea, but that's really rad.
Safety schmafety.
I definitely laughed. I was like, you guys are crazy, but I love you. So they used the sand and dug pits and jumps and the mats, when the mats heat up, they get a little bit more pliable and they conform a little bit better to the surface. So if there was a curve, they'll conform a little better to that. And so they made a wheelchair skate park. That was definitely hands down. That's the most creative I've seen.
I know someone who would totally do that.
I love that. Well, I'm anything with wheels. If it has wheels, I will try to ride it and I will at least try to do and not stop until I land one trick.
Oh.
But
he has
was
already
into BMX.
removed Eddie's the safety back wheel, the catch wheel from Eddie's wheelchair because going up and over curbs, you can't do it with that wheel on it. So
the anti-tip wheel.
Yes. So apparently Dad thinks we should be able to pop wheelies over curbs at 8 years old.
Anti-fun.
Oh, there it is. So we're constantly I hear little Eddie be like, do a wheelie with me. Do a wheelie with me. Do over that curb. I'm like, oh gosh, what are we getting into? This is trouble.
Well, because I can do wheelies on off curbs
bike.
and stuff. No, in a wheelchair because Zach's had the wheelchair, so we have plenty. again, anything with wheels. But like get Eddie into,
when you broke your legs too.
Stuff.
When you broke your leg, you're constantly bouncing off of things.
Oh yeah, I don't work there anymore, so I don't have to worry about that story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So speaking of wheels, I just got my first skateboard ever. Yes, I'm a grown adult and I started skateboarding.
That's
and
his
I'm
whole
really
house.
nervous that I'm going to break my wrist.
Like a longboard or like a...
No, it's not a longboard. It's,
nice.
Yeah. So I've been practicing with the pandemic, what are you going to do? Right. You can't just like go out and go to, standard hang out with your friends. So I'm like, I need to keep myself busy. I'm going to get a skateboard and I'm going to.
Yeah. Everyone needs a new hobby. I feel like during COVID.
I'm certainly not going to be knitting right now. So yeah, I don't know about that. So yeah,
that's awesome.
That's cool.
No, listen, the reason why I feel like I'm convinced that the reason why kids can do so much more than adults is because they're not afraid of what's going to happen.
There's
to
no
them.
fear.
So just got to go for it and have fun. I mean, I feel like I came out of the womb afraid of things, but the Gagnon boys are not afraid of anything.
Yeah. Well, it's called the, I was raised to believe we'll say the word, it's the wuss factor, but we used to say it was the bitch factor. Like you can't let that exist. It's out of your mind. There's because you can look at the rail and be like, yo, if you don't make this, you're going to smash your face. You're like, but if you get that out of your mind, you don't think of it. And then there's nothing stopping you and you can do it.
There's a fine line between calculated risk and just going for it.
I agree.
Exactly.
But I feel like, so when I was going skateboarding down the boardwalk by the beach recently, actually getting to the boardwalk on the street, we have some streets blocked off for like more community mobility type things here in Southern California. And so I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt, like that could be some serious road rash there. But the second that I started getting that fear of, oh my gosh, I'm losing my balance, it got worse. Right.
Yes.
But then no, don't think about that. I'm confident. My body will calibrate its own balance. I just got to let it do its thing. I was fine. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's interesting.
That trust factor is important. Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any of it. So.
I do that. I'm like, no,
I don't have it walking, so it doesn't either. I'm learning. So where, like you guys are located in Southern California, can it be purchased anywhere?
Yes.
Perfect.
And that's my favorite. I mean, when I get a customer from a different country, I'm 30 years old and I still jump up and down. Like, how cool is that to know that your thing that you started as a school project is getting used and, people are benefiting from it from around the world. Like as an OT, yes, my goal in my career is to help people, but I can help so many more people as an entrepreneur, with this product that I could as an OT in my own community. Right. Right. So super cool.
So how do you help the community? Like it can be purchased anywhere. Where's the price point around? Is that something that is out there?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Okay. I definitely keep that out there for people because that's important for families to know. Yeah. So we have each mat is $68. Okay. And we have a minimum of 5, and that's for 2 reasons. One, because as much as I want to give these away for free, I have to have a sustainable business. Right. But 2, because really, I feel like less than 5 and you're just going to have to, that leapfrog effect that I was talking about, you're just going to have to do that so much more if you get less than 5. Like it's just way more difficult. So most families are at that happy medium around 10. Okay. But yeah, that's the price point right now.
Okay. And, how is there ways for the community to purchase this if it's a price point that's too high for them? Or do you see people like doing certain type of crowdfunding things or fundraisers, GoFundMe's, things like that?
Yes. So crowdsourcing is a huge way that a lot of our nonprofits are able to purchase the product. So I recently wrote a blog article on my website about 6 adaptive sports grants that you should know about. And some of them are specific to a certain type of population, but most of them are open to persons with disabilities as well as the nonprofit space. So we've had people get grants from the Christopher Reeves Foundation, the Challenged Athletes Foundation, and more to be able to purchase it.
Awesome. And then I noticed that on your site, there's a rental option as well. How does that work?
Mm-hmm. That came about because right after we launched the company in 2018, we realized that San Diego is such a tourism focused area, and you get families from all over the world coming to visit here, and our beaches are just, everybody wants to go to the beach. So how can we help a family who doesn't really necessarily want or need to purchase the product and take back with them, but they want it for a few days to have that accessible vacation,
right?
Or for events that happen for one or a few days once a year, that event can now be ADA compliant and accessible and inclusive. So those rentals serve families and it serves outdoor events in general. And we've even had beach weddings rent it so that their family members can
great
get out there
idea.
and access their ceremony. Yeah, that was one of my favorite rentals.
That's a great idea, especially right now. I feel like so many people are reassessing their COVID weddings and turning them into more outdoor events.
Yeah.
Such a perfect idea to be able to have something like that, where maybe before you were like, well, how are we going to do this and be able to invite everyone we wanted to, like grandma or whoever. Now you can still invite everyone you want to invite and have your outdoor wedding and be working around COVID, which is, I feel like, the topic around everything.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking too. It's, you have now, that is a huge barricade that you're able to take down, because now people have that accessibility even around their own yard. These are huge things, because us involved in the disability community, like I see that all the time. We have friends, we go to houses and stuff, and I'm just like,
or birthday parties, whatever. Yeah.
Even the homes, they've been there for years, and you're just like, wow, and you have to do this to still get around that.
Yeah.
But because there isn't anything out there, there wasn't until you came along. So, which is great.
Well,
so that's why I love what we do, because now we get to scream it from the mountaintops and let everybody know about, what they can get there, about the Access Trax, which is going to be awesome.
Well, I love the idea too of an organization purchasing it. It even made me think of, we spoke to another resource a little while back, and they were saying how organizations were purchasing their product and then renting it out. Or loan on a loaner program, loaning it out. And so I was like, we have an organization here that does, we'll do similar things where they have events or whatever. And I'm like, that's a perfect thing. If they could get one donated or raise enough funds to have something like this, such a great opportunity for them. They do fishing events, they do all that stuff. Cool. It would be a great opportunity for them to be able to get it as a loaner even, where then they loaned it to people. They could check it out, use it for a weekend to the beach, and then check it back in.
Exactly.
I love it. Now I'm going to call them up this week.
Do you think the library would do that?
Because it's the same as the library idea. Yeah, I like it. I know, I'm getting excited.
I did want to hit on the topic though. Hearing that people order from around the world, I can absolutely empathize with that emotion of getting excited and stuff, because Kristen will constantly check
where people are listening from.
So she'll check through our the who's listening to the podcast and stuff. And there is nothing more exhilarating than hearing you're people in other countries. First of all, I hope they know what we're saying, but it's just insane. I'm just I can't believe that. She's well, what are the Germany? Was it one of the countries?
We have a lot of listeners in Germany.
Cool.
And I'm this is so exciting. And at first I was maybe this is just an app that's out of Germany. And then I'm no, it's all over Germany. People are listening in different areas. I'm no, we actually have people listening in Germany. It's really exciting. But it's the same idea. Yeah. I get really pumped. I'm okay, so at first you think it's just your friends and family. You're it's just people that I talk to. I'm no, actually people are listening to us.
But and you're in the Access Trax, are just providing just an amazing service. Again, I feel that is a life-changing product that you can have, that they can own, and it's just huge. That's awesome. And again, I love what we do because we get to talk about this all the time.
No, thank you for bringing a resource like this to our community. It's exciting for us,
There's nothing more rewarding than working with a new person, family, or organization and having them literally want to hug you and cry tears of joy because they found the product. I mean, I have on my website, you can request a quote for the product because I take every inquiry and I find the best shipping option. So I personally handle every order and get to talk to people. And they put in their quote request. I have a section of them to put their notes and what are you excited about using the product for? And any questions or anything you'd like to share. People pour their hearts out. And I always get so excited and just really pumped about, wow, this person said they haven't been to the beach in 25 years since their injury. And they, like I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, about how they're excited to be empowered to get outdoors again.
Yeah.
And that's what this is all about.
For sure. I mean, so you're doing more than giving them accessibility. It's giving them so much more than that. Like it's probably, you can't even count it, all the things that people are getting out of it. So it's really exciting.
Independence is huge. Remember turning 18? You're like, yes, I'm my own person. Like that's, again, feeling that rush of independence is it's got to be so liberating.
So we ask all of our guests the same question. We say if you have 30 seconds, but it can be 60 seconds. It can be, I don't know why I keep saying it that way. I know because I feel bad. If you could
say one thing to our community.
If you could say one thing to our community, what advice would you give them?
I would say that everybody has a purpose and a mission. And whether you know it now or in 10 years, that's not so much the issue. It's once you get that spark, whatever gets your attention and sparks joy, work towards that. Don't let it slip away, no matter how many challenges that are going to be thrown in your path. And one thing that has really helped me on my journey is goal setting. And this is something that you don't have to be like an expert in, and it will take a little bit of practice, but every single day, if you could do one solid thing towards reaching that long-term goal, do it. Don't let something get in your way. Like whether that one small thing is sending one email or making one phone call to somebody to help you along that way, try to start small. And then one day you'll get so good at doing one thing every day that you're going to pump it up to doing two things every day. And just having that goal, that long-term goal towards your dream, towards your passion, make sure you literally physically write it down or type it out and have it in a place where you're going to see it every day, whether that's on your nightstand or the mirror in your bathroom or on your phone screen that you see every 12 seconds because we're all obsessed with our phones. Like just everyone has the ability to chase their dreams. You just have to start small and take it one step at a time.
Oh, I think that's great advice. I mean, so many times it's so easy to think of everything you want to get done and try to tackle all of that. And then you get overwhelmed and you just don't.
Right.
But thinking, taking things bit by bit by bit, and you turn around and look back and you're like, look what I've accomplished. Yeah. And I feel like it's so funny to think like sometimes you even think you're not accomplishing it because you're just taking it in such tiny bites. But then when you look back, you're like, okay, look how far we've come.
Yep.
And it's so important to have that forethought and say, okay, I'm going to just take these bite by bite and I'm going to get to my goal destination and I'll get there when I get there and I'm not going to be too hard on myself and it will be okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. And I think now more than ever, we have to really give ourselves grace and know that sometimes it will be just one thing in a day. And then on other days when you're just on it and you have a lot of time and energy, you get done 12 things. That's great too.
Yeah.
Crush it.
You crush it.
Yeah, crush it.
So what are you and Access Trax working on next? I mean, with COVID, is it helping, hurting? What are you kind of working towards?
Ooh, that's a great question. With COVID going on, we've certainly had a screeching halt to a lot of our events that we do. So the event rental side of the company has been affected very, very deeply. And my heart goes out to all the nonprofits that we worked with who that's their bread and butter is events and getting people together in the community. So that side of things has been interesting. But even with that, that's actually, I try to look at the opportunity in that, because having events canceled or postponed has actually opened up a lot more time on my schedule to allow me to think a lot more deeply on the actual strategy of the business and moving forward. So we've been doing a lot more like online stuff, getting ready for international partnerships.
Nice.
So hopefully next year we will be able to add Australia to our list of 10 countries that we work in. So that's kind of something I'm looking forward to in the future. Yeah. Expanding our international presence. Definitely.
And what a place to go. I mean, for surfing alone, the beaches alone is huge. It's a culture there. So what a great spot to kind of be, where accessibility would be huge there, and I'm sure much needed.
Absolutely. There's a nonprofit there that we are trying to work with that would be very helpful in connecting us to the right places. And of course, leading it with a positive kind of vision, because I love working with other nonprofits. I mean, I wish I were a nonprofit half the time, and I act like I'm a nonprofit half the time, but very motivated to get that part of our vision done. And then as far as everything else, I think I am excited to open up more possibilities for people to support Access Trax who maybe don't need or want to buy the actual product itself. So when I first launched the company, we made some t-shirts and hats and things. And those sold out quickly because I had to focus a lot more of my time and energy on the actual product.
Yeah.
But now I'm finally, especially because of COVID, I have more time. I'm going to be launching our stickers on the website soon, so people can put those on their car or surfboard or whatever and show support. And then developing a few other things.
That's awesome. And you guys have a great logo, so it's definitely something you should take advantage of. So where can everyone find you, like social media, websites? Where's everyone going to go to look for you?
Definitely. If you have an Instagram, follow our Instagram account. We have Beach Trax SD. And I'm sure you guys might have the ability to share the link in your description and all that. And our website is accesstraxsd.com. The SD stands for San Diego, in case anybody is wondering what the heck is that all about. Domain names, when you purchase those, it's interesting when somebody already has your domain name. You have to get creative. And then,
I thought it was because you guys were like global. You're like, we have to isolate it. So this is our hub. That's their hub.
They will be.
UK.
They will be.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, just thinking for the future. You know what I mean? Plug that.
Yes. And I always tell people I'm jealous of my product because it gets to travel way more than I do.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So hopefully someday I get to travel to places like Australia and New Zealand.
That's what you guys need on your website. You need like one of those pin maps. Or just like pin everywhere that it's traveled. Yeah, there you go.
I want one of those in my living room. I mean,
I think about that all the time. So like cool. Right behind us, we just put like all our listeners on the board.
Listeners are.
Yeah,
oh no, we got these awesome little.
Oh my God, tag sale find.
That we've had forever.
Tag sale find.
Yeah, which are way better.
Awesome. So we will tag and link everything in our show notes so everyone knows where to find you. And Access Trax, because I'm sure that we're going to hear from people that are looking to find out where they can access this and grab it. So we'll definitely tag everything. Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, of course. Thank you. This was really cool. And I'm glad that, the conversation is flexible and you guys were awesome. It was fun to talk to you guys.
Well, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, please make sure you share with a friend and leave a review.
You can find all the resources mentioned in this episode on our Facebook or Instagram on @specialaboutspecial. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.